Okay, hey gamers. So, the Mona Lisa. Some may consider it the most famous painting in the entire world, painted by Leonardo himself. And it could be as famous as it is because it was advanced for its time, with with advanced rendering techniques to make the face look better. But it also could be famous because of the weird way she's smiling, like how I smiled after watching a little kid fall off the jungle gym, or how it was somehow painted by a turtle. And Leonardo painted this during the Renaissance, which was when people finally learned how to draw faces and other things correctly with perspective and light. And then they also figured out how cats and babies looked like, apparently. But when you ask me, I personally think that the true Renaissance was when a Korean man danced in a stable with a bunch of horses, and he changed the world and my life forever. So today I'm going to show you how to draw a painting that Pablo Picasso himself would appreciate.
Okay, so the supplies I'm going to use are simple. Just some pencils, a pencil sharpener, a kneaded eraser that you can get from an art store, a normal eraser, a napkin, and a sketchbook. Okay, so first we start off with just drawing a circle on our page, and then we can look at our reference image and start making out the proportions of the head, and then we can start shaping the head. Okay, so now we can start to mark areas such as sections of the head, like where the eyes and nose will go. Also, we mark where the facial features are going to go, such as the nose, and the eyes, and the mouth, and the ears if they're visible. And we use simple shapes to have a good idea of where they go, and how much space they take up on the face. Also remember about perspective, which is very important in drawings, especially if the subject is facing away from us like it is in this picture, since it will affect the facial features. So for now, I'm just going to draw a simple outline of the hair, just to know where on the head it covers, and we will come back later to add more detail to it. Okay, so now we can start giving the nose its shape while paying attention to the reference. Here I'm trying to draw as close as I can to the reference, but if you're going for a more stylized or cartoonish look, you can mess around with the proportions and shape. And I like to start at the bottom of the nose and make my way up. Now let's move on to the eyes. This is where we need to be very careful to get the eyes in the right shape. So don't be afraid to stare at your reference for a bit to get a good idea of the form. I like to mark where the eyes go with little dots and make sure to check where the eyes are on the same level or if the eyes are on a slant like they are in this picture. Also, where the eyes are in the skull, it goes inwards a bit, so it's a bit deeper into the head. Remember that the eyes are like a marble wrapped under the skin, so there's going to be some lines above and under the eyes like this. Now I'm going to add some eyebrows here, and I'm going to make sure not to make them too dark. Okay, now time for the mouth. You can put 2 dots here to mark where the mouth begins and ends. And I'm going to be using the eyes as a way to know where to mark our points. We can start with this line, which is the mouth itself, and usually the ends point a bit upwards. Then we start drawing the lips, but we don't fully outline them because if we do, it can look a bit weird since they will stick out too much. Okay, so now we get to the part which many people may find difficult, which is the ear. So for this, you want to pay close attention to the shape of the ear, like which parts are curved in or out. You can think of parts of the ears as little tubes. Now we begin the shading process, which many people may find difficult. It's important to decide where the light source is coming from, and where reflected light will hit the object. So it's easier to start off drawing from a reference, where the light source is clearly coming from one direction rather than multiple. So my light seems to be coming from about here. So let's get shading. Here I'm shading from dark to light, but you can shade from light to dark if you like. And I'm also going to be using my other sketching pencils to get darker and lighter tones. We can also use a napkin or any other smudging tool to blend in the area to get a more realistic look. If you have trouble shading, then you should probably practice shading something simpler, like a ball or a cube or any other simpler object. A tip is to not shade too dark below the eyebrows or under the nose, since if you do, it could look like the eyebrows are pointing down or the person has something under their nose. So we finished shading the face, so let's now get to shading the hair. It might seem harder to shade the hair, and it could probably be its own video explaining how. So for now, just try to get close to your reference image by seeing which areas are being hit with light and which aren't. Or another solution could be to only draw bald people, or people wearing hats, like that one guy from the Super Bowl chip commercial. And here it's important to pay attention to the direction that the hair is flowing in, because that would be the direction that you're shading in to get the correct look of the hair. And here it's also good to have pencils with sharp points, so then you can get the texture and the strands of hair to look good. The hair here is easier to shade because a lot of the hair is going in the same direction. But for hair that's more complex, you should think of groups of hair going in a direction as ribbons, and then pay attention to how the light hits them. Now you can see I'm shading the neck, which is mostly like a cylinder, except for some bits that go more outwards. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go back and make a couple adjustments and fixes to the face. Also, I'm just gonna quickly sketch the clothes on this guy. And it looks like we're done. Congratulations. Now I have a drawing of a stranger I don't know.
Okay, so that was how I drew portraits. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and bye.